The Coconuts are a family of 6 living aboard an engineless sailboat and voyaging the world. Some would call it crazy, but the Coconuts call it home. I hope you enjoy the interview and boat tour. How long have you had this boat?
We've had this boat for about 5 years now.
Wow. Where did you find her?
We salvaged her in Florida, so she was abandoned in Florida, basically. It was the original owner we ended up getting it from. He had it built in 1982. It's a prototype, it's a one-off. He raced it on the East Coast out of New York Yacht Club, and it went down to Florida, to a marina, and was just sitting there. And one day, a big hurricane came through. This big barge broke off and took out like 3 other marinas, and Messenger broke off and went up onto the shore, and so he claimed Messenger basically as a loss. He took it farther up the river, sat on the mooring, and there it sat. So when we went on the boat, we were the first people on the boat in 5 years.
5 years on a mooring ball?
On a mooring ball. I was able to go look at it first, and so I knew what kind of boat and sort of potential that it had. It was worth going through the trouble of saving. It went from the brink of death. You know, yeah. Many things were stolen. The primary winches were stolen. The backstay hydraulics were stolen. We had to jury rig it and get it out of this place and sail it 70 miles north to where we could haul her out, you know. So
there must have been so much growth on the hull.
Yeah. Well, I had to go clean it, which was a funny experience because, you know, of course there's alligators in these rivers.
Oh, great.
You know, and so I'm talking to these people who are professional divers cleaning the bottom, you know, and they're like, yeah, it's not really an issue. They don't really bother you. You know, you can just get in and clean it. And so I mean, I took their advice, but I think I was the most terrified I've been cleaning the bottom ever. You know? So it was interesting.
How long did it take you to get her in shape enough so that you could start living aboard?
What happened was that we left the girls at my grandma's house. Natasha and I basically just moved on right away. We said, okay, well, let's just take the saloon. Let's just try to clean it as much as possible so that we can cook on one side on this like camping stove and then sleep on the other side and then kind of go from there. We were able to clean and kind of paint a bit of the inside, and once we got it out on the hard, and after the first month we brought the girls. Then I just started working on the rig and the deck, and it was maybe 4 or 6 months to get it to basically sailing shape and a decent live aboard. And then we went to Bahamas and Cuba and Costa Rica.
Wow.
Yeah. Costa Rica and Panama, and then we went to Colombia and Curacao and the Caribbean islands, and then Bermuda, and then New York and Newport, Rhode Island. So,
and then you stayed in Newport for a while.
Yeah, we ended up staying there for about nearly 2 years. The boat was out of the water, I think, like 7 months or something like that, and I was working on it pretty hard every day, and just took, you know, everything off the decks, repainted everything. I replaced 23 square feet of core in the deck.
Oh my God.
So that was soft, and yeah, so it's been through quite a bit, but now it's really nice. It's basically to a point that you don't have to do too much, you know, especially because everything's very simple, that there's the maintenance issues are just very little kind of things, not so much. So.
Did you do all the refit work yourself?
I had some people help me here and there, you know, basically just helping me with doing, you know, like sanding and things like this that were just like overwhelming amounts of work, you know. I had this really cool Portuguese kid in Newport who was helping me, who was just wanting to learn more about boats and things. So it was really,
wow.
Yeah, it was really cool. So
he would work for both of you.
Yeah, he would work all day working on boats, and then he would come work with me all night working on boats. You know, sometimes we sprayed the primer on. It was like, you know, 12 o'clock at night or something like that. So it was around the clock. You know.
When did you leave Newport, and where did you go since then?
We left Newport in August, I think, of last year. From Newport, we went to Lunenburg, Nova Scotia, which is a great little boat building history town. And we went to St. Pierre and Miquelon, the last French hold in the Americas, really. And from there, we went to Newfoundland. And from Newfoundland, we jumped off and sailed to Iceland.
How long was the passage?
It took us 14 days. We were, of course, always searching for a good window, but that summer was just incredibly active in the Labrador area. It was just constant storm after storm after storm after storm. Like every 3 days or something, there was a brand new storm. And you know, like 960, 980 millibars, you know, just like pretty gnarly ones. We just kept waiting, and then finally there was a bit of a window, and so we took it. And then as a low went through, we went right on the back of it, and we just tried to ride it as long as we could. And we knew after that we were kind of unsure until the new wind filled in from a low that was going to hopefully pass south of us. So we were just thinking, okay, there's going to be a moment of we don't really know what the wind's going to be. It's going to be very variable. And we made it basically 600 miles. We were south of Greenland, and that's where the low just left us. And so then we were just sitting there bobbing around. In 5 days, we went 30 nautical miles.
You were becalmed
Yeah.
south of Greenland.
In hindsight, I wish that I could have enjoyed it as much as possible. But for me, the calms are really the most difficult portion of any passage is any type of calms, you know, especially being there, because of course you're just in the alley. It's
Right.
like, you know, taking a nap on
I
the...
love the calms because it gives us a break from the same.
They're all happy, and I'm sitting there biting my nails.
Right,
you know
you
what I
don't
mean?
know what's coming next.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like we're like taking a nap on a freeway or something, you know, but it was nice. We lit the stove and we warmed up the cabin, and the girls were playing cards, and in 5 days we moved 30 nautical miles. I mean, there would be like, I don't know, a half an hour that some wind would come through, and I'd put up the sails and we'd get going, and okay, it's gonna stay. Here we go. We're gonna go now, and then it would just and die. So we made it, you know, 3 miles. And then the next day, you know.
Did you encounter any rough weather on that passage, or?
Yeah, we had, I mean, sort of what would be normally expected in the area. When the wind finally filled in, of course it filled in on our nose because the low that was coming, it passed just to the south of us. So they're going counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere, the lows are, and so we had headwinds. We were going in like 20 to 30 knots sustained on the nose, and it was so stubborn, just keep coming straight from Reykjavik, the wind. So we would just have 2 or 3 reefs in the main and a storm jib on, and just going to weather, you know.
Wow.
But yeah, it was bumpy ride, but it was fine. You know? It was definitely a hard passage. You know, it's very tiring for all of us because this boat is, you know, it's quite rough. It's fast, but it's very, very rough. It's a light boat, and it's sort of like driving. I think there was a Vonnie Globe racer that said it's like driving a truck with square wheels, which is true, you know. So it was just slamming. So that just the noise gets very tiring. As we were coming up to Reykjavik, we could see the lights of Reykjavik, and it was night, and it got really clear and calm, and then we could see the Aurora Borealis, and that was the first time we ever seen it. And at that moment, everything became worth it, you know, this hard passage. It was about, I would say, 8 degrees to 10 degrees inside the cabin Celsius, maybe 50 degrees Fahrenheit inside the cabin, so we were all sort of cold and for a long time, but you know, it's not really that bad, you know.
Yeah. How long were you in Iceland, and
We were in
what was that
Iceland.
whole experience like being?
Wow, yeah, Iceland's an amazing place. You know, we were in Iceland for nearly a year. Iceland's amazing. It's been so sheltered and so isolated for so many years that they've really created such a distinct and unique culture that is just a result of the climate, and the people are very, very friendly, and made some wonderful friendships. And of course the land is beautiful, but for us it's really more about the people that we meet. That's always more or less our focus than so much the surroundings, you know. It was fantastic. We had a great time just getting to know the culture and the people. A lot of people get to go to Iceland, but only for weeks or something, so you don't get the real grasp. But we got to go there for so long, fortunately, that you get to see this evolution and how the climate has shaped the people that live there. And that was, I think, for me, the most interesting part, because we see this huge change from winter to summer with the people. It goes from like this barren landscape of just snow and these crazy storms and freezing cold and no growth or life of anything. And the people are sort of all kind of hunkered down, and then all of a sudden in summer, it's like you see like the flowers start coming out in the grass, and just like the grass is so frantic to come to life, the Icelanders are the same way. So in summer, all of a sudden, the same people we knew in winter that were very relaxed and calm and slow, in summer they're like, okay, we gotta go, we're gonna go have a bonfire, then we're going to our friend's house. They're just like the bugs, you know, just buzzing for life, because they knew that summer is such a short time. So it's interesting how that shaped their lives as well. But of course, you know,
It sounds like a wonderful experience. It sounds like it might have been hard to leave.
it was hard to leave. This is our first place we've ever been to where we have not wanted to leave. You know, really, I mean, we wanted to leave because we're always sort of anxious to go see other places, but at the same time, we absolutely loved it. You know, it was a fantastic place.
I think you'll sail back there.
Oh, definitely,
Someday.
for surely one day. Yeah, most definitely one day. No doubt about it. So.
When did you leave Iceland, and where did you go since then?
Let's see, we arrived yesterday in the Faroes, so we only left Iceland like last week. Yeah.
How was the passage to Faroe?
Oh, it was a good passage. We had a really good weather window, and it was a bit windy when we left in downwind conditions, and so we hove to for a little bit and waited. He's okay. He can't flip. But anyways, it was a good passage. A little windy in the beginning, but then sort of calmed down, and we knew it was going to be calming down, and so it was a downwind, and we didn't have to jibe or tack the entire way. And then once we got here, it was really interesting just waiting for the tides, and you know, because we had to wait in two different sections, which is, I guess, part of the deal when you don't have an engine. But we arrived, and so to go around the corner, we had to wait like 3 or 4 hours. Then we went around the corner, and then we were coming up here, and then the tide was against us here, so we had to wait like another 4 hours for it to switch, so that we could end up coming into here. So, but yeah, now.
Now you're here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what are your plans from here?
Explore this island, and then we'll go to Tórshavn, the capital, explore it for a bit, and we kind of let, if we meet some people and they tell us to go somewhere or something, then we will often take them up on that, and then after that we will be on to the Shetlands and then Norway, and kind of go down that way.
Where do you think you'll spend this winter?
Our plan is to winter in Brittany, France, in South Brittany, where it's just, of course, they're just crazy about sailing and boats, and that's their entire life. So.
Sounds like a great place to be.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect for me.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
How did you discover sailing? When did it all begin?
Well, I was. I don't come from a sailing family or any of that. But I happened to go to a high school that was near the ocean. So I was always kind of a surf bum and, you know, beach bum kind of person. But I met some friends that were on the sailing team. And so they would go out sailing on the weekends, and so one day I was able to go with them, and that's when I first sort of got the love for sailing. At that point I knew it was just like, I knew it was for me, you know. So after that point I just tried to sail as much as I could, and mainly sailing on dinghies and racing dinghies, and then just saving all the money that I could so that one day I could buy a boat, you know.
Yeah. Is this your first boat, or
This is my third big boat. Well, you know, not a dinghy. It's my third boat. I first had an old wooden boat, which was a lot of fun inside the harbor. I was in San Francisco, and so with that boat, I was sailing around and doing racing, and I was just looking around for something that I could sail offshore with. And one day I came across this boat that was something that was in my price range, you know, a little kind of all, you know, abandoned sort of in a way, not abandoned though. But I ended up meeting the broker, and the broker tells me one day that the owner is, the wife's in charge of the sale now, and so she wants the thing gone, so any money that you have to offer. So I offered him $10,000, and she took it. And so then I had this boat, and then I got rid of my boat that I had previously, and I just started working on that, and a month later then I started sailing south, and that was a Formosa 38. Yeah, these tanks and just rotting everywhere. It got me many miles, so I can't complain, you know.
When did you decide to go cruising and living aboard?
It was always sort of a goal of mine, but I never was able to either quite understand how to do it, or I basically I couldn't afford it yet, or wasn't able to find a boat that sort of was going to meet my needs. And when I found this boat, I knew I could sail offshore. It was a safe boat, and especially it was a forgiving boat. You know, I could make many mistakes and nothing was going to happen, you know. And at that point, then that's when the goal that I had to live on a boat and sail around, that's when it became a reality. My plans were first to sail from San Francisco to Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. Basically just work there, and then I met a person from Costa Rica who basically said, yeah, we have tons of work down there, come down there and work. And so I said okay, and I kept sailing south, and then I met my wife, and and the next thing you know, you're in Iceland with 4 kids.
Oh my God.